So the Miami Heat are acquiring Charlotte Hornets guard Terry Rozier for guard Kyle Lowry and a protected 2027 first round pick.
Yeah, I actually really, I don't know why, but I feel like this year we're seeing quite a bit of win-win trades.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people brought up the Knicks with the OG trade as a win-win trade, and to me, I see this as a win-win trade. Just in like the Hornets, I got to here. Let me actually read the report because while I was walking here today after I parked, I got a report that said, "Oh, I cleared it." It said the Hornets are not done making trades. They're going to continue looking for these future assets.
Mm-hmm.
So one, I think to get another 2027 unprotected first, I believe from the Heat. Um, and then you get 22 million. You get Kyle Lowry's 22 million, which is an expiring contract. So you open up that space. Whether you want to bring in some vets into the locker room that desperately needs it.
They need to keep Lowry in my opinion. They really
Oh,
need
for sure,
Lowry.
for sure. I
They
agree.
need Lowry in there for sure, man.
I agree.
Because like, what's the biggest issue with this Hornets roster right now?
They got no vets. They got no leadership or guidance.
No vets, no leadership, a very immature roster, and we see the talent with this team. Obviously, with Lamelo, Mark Williams when he's been healthy,
Brandon
Brandon
Miller
Miller.
showing
Brandon
flashes.
Miller is a dog.
Yeah,
What a great rookie year he's been having.
for sure.
But the biggest weakness is that they have no leaders. They have no leadership within their locker room right now. And Steve Clifford, I honestly thought he would be that guy
Mm-mm.
to bring a little bit of leadership and veteran presence into that locker room, but it hasn't really worked out.
Nah, see, I don't know if you've remembered. I was always on the Steve Clifford out train,
Mhm.
and I don't think Steve Clifford's necessarily a poor coach, especially when you look at his time in Orlando.
No,
I
no.
just think for what this team needs, I think one they need a younger coach, one who kind of understands what this team is supposed to be, like a run and gun, space and pace team, not like a grit and grind team, which is Steve Clifford's system.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think if you can get a younger coach who can kind of grow with them, we saw what Jamal Mosley did with Orlando. We saw what Mark Daigneault's done with Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
And so if they can bring in a young coach that can grow and develop with them, I think that puts them on the right course. And then having vets, but I also think vets that can play,
Mhm.
right? Because we've seen this team bring in, oh, we'll make a big offseason signing of Gordon Hayward. He plays 30 games of the season. But if you bring in a vet like Kyle Lowry, who can be your backup point guard and show LaMelo how to be impactful on defense, even if that's not the best part of your game.
Yeah,
Uh,
and efficiently run an offense. Be more careful with the ball
hmm
as well.
hmm Especially in the late game stretches. I mean, Kyle Lowry is an NBA champion. He has pedigree. He knows what those big moments take. Whereas this team, I mean, outside of Gordon Hayward and they just traded Terry Rozier,
Hmm.
does anybody on this team have playoff experience?
I gotta look down this list.
Lamelo doesn't. Lamelo has a play-in game. That doesn't
Dang.
count.
Um.
Nick Richards, Mark Williams don't. PJ Washington
Oh,
doesn't.
Ish Smith. Ish Smith.
Ish Smith is an NBA champion.
NBA champion Ish Smith. Come on
Ish
now.
Smith
Come
is
on
an
now.
NBA champion.
Frank Ntilikina.
I don't know if that is the
He played in the playoffs. I'm looking down this
he
roster
did,
right
but I
now.
don't know if that's the playoff experience you want, considering
Right.
he was guarding Trey Young that series at MSG,
Oh,
and
yeah,
that didn't
that
turn out too well.
that's fair. That's fair. I just wanted to say his name.
Um,
When we are talking about playoff experience with
no,
this
no,
team.
I know.
So yeah, it's like you said, it's very limited with this
Yeah.
roster right now.
So
Very
I
inexperienced.
think having those guys who have been notorious winners, who have been in those big positions, to kind of give guidance, kind of mentor the young talent that they do have. Because as you said, they have the right young players, whether it is a LaMelo Ball, a Mark Williams, a Brandon Miller. But they need to be shown the ropes. Otherwise, they end up like the guys in Houston did before Ime and Dylan Brooks was there.
Hmm.
Um,
For sure.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Heat though?
Yeah. And then actually, I want to hear your thoughts for the Heat.
Yeah, it's a great move for them. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Kyle Lowry, while he's one of my favorite players of all time, I love the dude. With this Heat team, he didn't really fit. Whether it's offensively,
Mm-hmm.
his offensive ceiling has taken a huge decline since that trade, and really last year as well. Even when they were on that finals run, and defensively, he's a complete negative. With that team, I think he's one of the worst defenders in the league statistically. I don't have the stats, but statistically,
Mm-hmm.
he is one of the worst defenders in that regard for guards. And so, with you bringing a guy like Rozier in,
Mm-hmm.
Terry Rozier, he's had a great year. While With him, the biggest issues have been his efficiency, and with him being such a high usage guy.
Yeah.
But with this Heat roster, you bring in a guy like Terry Rozier in, you substitute him for you substitute Kyle Lowry for a guy like Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's a positive regardless of what happens moving forward.
And then again, like I mentioned, I mean, and you mentioned, we both like this trade for the Heat. Um, I think that Terry Rozier, he already came out and said that, like, if I go to the Heat, I understand I'm going to be the third or fourth option. Like, he's already accepting of that role.
Right.
But this Heat team, we've seen them for the past 2-3 years now make deep runs to the playoffs, in the playoffs, excuse me. And they just don't have enough. They just don't have enough. We've seen 2 years in a row now where Tyler Hero hasn't been able to finish the playoffs. Obviously, he had the broken wrist last year, and then he missed the Boston series the year before. But like, so you bring in a guy like Terry Rozier to kind of ensure that scoring role just in case Tyler Hero does go down. And now if Tyler Hero doesn't go down, you have another scorer so that it's not all like Jimmy really has to put us on a backpack and stuff.
Yeah, and that was the main goal, was to bring more shot creation and more scoring pressure, outside of Jimmy. Because with this Heat team, we've seen it before when Jimmy doesn't go Superman, he doesn't put the cape on.
Mm-hmm.
We saw with the finals.
Yeah,
The Heat, they were actually really good defensively against that Nuggets team.
they were.
The biggest issue was that one, obviously Jokic was having a generational final series, and two, outside of Jimmy, there was no real scorers to put pressure on the Nuggets defense,
The
especially inside the paint.
the Heat put up 100 points or over 100 points in one game that series
Yeah.
out of 5. Think about that. The offense was not there. The offense was not there. Um, so yeah. So to bring in a guy who's known for being a scorer, like this is Terry Rozier. If he's a sixth man, he's a professional scorer, being a sixth man. And he fits well. I think that the Heat have a ton of players that can kind of make up for his defensive liabilities. And I also don't think he's that bad of a defender as is.
No,
Like, especially if you
no.
could get his Boston side that he used to have.
Compared to Kyle Lowry, I feel at this point Rozier is a better defender than Lowry.
So I do want to ask you, because in the NBA, starting lineup is starting lineup, right? Like a lot of teams have a starting lineup that they don't close with, but the closing lineup is your most important lineup. What do you think the new Heat closing lineup is?
Jeez, man. Jimmy and Bam are obviously there, of course, so that's
For
we'll
sure.
knock those two out
For
the
sure.
way. I'm worried about the backcourt with Rozier and Hero. Defensively, a lot of teams could exploit that
Sure.
and make Bam and Jimmy both have to guard the entirety of the whole floor in the half court offense. But I feel like at this point, Rozier and Tyler Hero would be in the closing games.
Yeah.
If you want to go defensive, maybe put Josh Richardson at the 2 and Tyler at the 1. And so what we have right now is I have Terry at the 1, Hero at the 2,
Yeah.
Butler at the 3, and then at the 4.
Ooh. Butler at the 3. I think Butler might have to go to the 4.
With his age and potential legs,
He played the 4 last year and during their playoff run.
I understand that, but especially when they're facing bigger teams like a
True,
Boston,
true. It is matchup
in a
dependent.
playoff series. Yeah, it's very matchup depending. Like a Boston, like a Milwaukee. I think he go to the 3, and the 4. I would like to see Howard Highsmith more in that role as a defensive guy, but I think it would be Caleb Martin being the 4, and then Love at the 5. If they want to go big, then you probably would put Love at the 4, and
Yeah.
then Bam at the 5,
Yeah.
just to maintain that.
I think Haywood Highsmith is an interesting one just because with Rozier and a hero backcourt, you do have a ton of offense. Plus, you have Jimmy and Bam. And so maybe you're okay if Haywood Highsmith is on the court because while his offense may be iffy, like the defense is legit. For me, I think I agree with the backcourt. I agree with Bimmy and Jim. Or,
Jimmy and Bam.
thank you, Jimmy and Bam.
Word.
I think it's hard because Hawkins is a rookie, so you don't know if he'll earn that trust by then to be in those big playoff games.
I think he will earn that trust.
Yeah,
I
especially
really
in a
do.
Heat culture.
Yeah,
for sure.
And he's been having a great rookie year so
For sure.
far as well. You saw the Christmas game, right?
Yeah, no, he's definitely all rookie first team for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been having a phenomenal
Yeah.
rookie year.
Yeah.